What is up, guys, gals, and non-binary pals? My name's Naomi. Welcome to House of Miscellania. Today I'm coming at you with a whippin' chat. WIP stands for work in progress. I'm gonna, hang out with you for about an hour. Some people use this as a podcast, or others use it like as motivation to pull out something that they've been working on and to work on it. So you can do whatever you like with that. I am working on right now. It is the Morrigan from Diamond Art Club. Let's see where her little picture is so we can share it. Oh, not that one. There it is. The Morrigan from Diamond Art Club by Chrisabug. She is a 65 by 100.8 centimeters, 60 colors in square. I just started working on her. It was the 6th, I think, and I kidded her up on the 6th. I started her yesterday, so we're on the second row up and almost to the end of the second row. We've been kind of flying through her. Lots of color blocking. Anyways, tools that I'm using: a tray from Cat Proof Trays, just my old faithful. This is the fine loaf size. I really, really love Cat Proof Trays. I love the fact that it has a lid that's flexible. You can put that sucker on there and your diamonds are not going to fall out. The size for me is perfect. And then I'm using a pen that actually I made myself. This is an intention pen. Intention pens are new. I've never seen them anywhere else. But this one in particular is for like new beginnings, prosperity, good fortune. The wood is cherry for good fortune specifically. There's witch's grass and jasmine for good luck, happiness, prosperity. And then the stones that are in it are tiger eye for good fortune, also good luck, those sorts of things, banishing negativity. I make these special. If you're interested, hit me up in the comments. I can give you some more information. Otherwise, you can shoot me an email, houseofmiscellania@gmail.com. All of my socials and stuff are down in the description if you're interested. But this is a pen that I made. And then in my multi-placer, I am using my Old Faithful Butterfly Effect Wears Lucky Clover dot putty. It smells like Lucky Charms. I love it. And then I am using a new product in my single placer, which is called Ghost from Diamond Painting Daily. This stuff is amazing. It's like you put it in your single placer. You can use it in a multi-placer too. It essentially creates for you a glue dot. And it's awesome. I love this stuff. But you can pick it up at Diamond Painting Daily. I know that this little jar is like $12, I think, but it will last me forever. Because I have not even had to replace it, and I've been using the same little bit that I put in there for, I don't know, probably a week it's been in there. So good stuff to check out. And then of course I've got my Healing with the Fairies Oracle cards, which I will be pulling out at about the halfway point after I've kind of checked in, told you about my week, etc. So do tell me in the comments, how are you guys doing? What's your week been like? Have you been busy? Have you been not busy? We had this nice like cool stint where the weather was actually pretty, pleasant for a while. And then the heat climbed up again. So now we're back into like the 80s, but it's August. So what do you do about that? And then aside from that, my kids, my son and his significant other are back from Kansas with a car. So that's pretty cool. I mentioned before that, I feel like that sense of independence is really important, especially when you're, entering adulthood, late teens, early 20s. Being able to just get out and do your own thing it's vital. It really is vital. but nice to have both of them back around. It was quiet, almost too quiet before. I did spend last weekend when my in-laws went to go pick my kids up from Kansas with a flatbed to bring the car back. I spent the weekend over at my in-laws' house. They have a couple of Boston Terriers and a French Bulldog. And okay, one thing that I did not realize that's different, especially with those breeds of dogs from like a Beans-sized Great Pyrenees type dog, is their snouts are very short, and therefore they take in a lot of air. Because they take in a lot of air, they put out a lot of air in gaseous form, and oh my God, I don't know that I have ever in my lifetime smelled gas as foul as what comes out of their dogs. It's terrible. So I spent most of my time while I was there making pens because I just didn't even want to be in the house. It was awful. But I stayed over there for the weekend. Oh, somebody passed by and was just a little too loud, scared the doggies. Yeah, I stayed over there for the weekend, and, you know, like, not sleeping in my usual spot and just being in a place that's not my home. It's fine, you know, like, okay. Take two. Being in a place that's not my usual spot, like, I can manage it, obviously just fine, but it's nice to be at my own house. I'm sure probably the kids are also relieved to be home, and, well, I know at least my son, you know, to be in your own home, your own bed, or around your own stuff, your own pets, all the stuff, you know. So as much as I'm sure they're both probably happy and sad to be home, probably more happy than sad, I would imagine, especially because, you know, like, this is where their own electronics are, and, you know, my son's significant other has, I don't know about all of his guitars here, but a lot of guitars here, just that sort of thing, being around your own stuff. So that, and then, like I said, I spent the bulk of the weekend, I was either like pouring resin, or I was turning resin. I was just working in the garage. And so it was nice to, like, get over there, get a lot done, and really just, like, get some work out. I will be putting a video together, excuse me, of the intention pens, just to kind of show off, like, what they are, what they do, kind of what the options are. Because I've gotten a lot of questions about, like, well, what kind of things can I have in them? What do they do? That sort of thing. So I'm going to have a whole video kind of explaining what they are, what they do, what they're for, you know, that sort of thing. Are they a little woo-woo? Yes, but so am I, you know, honestly. Thank you, Beans. So, yeah, other than that, I mean, it's been basically business as usual around the house. Have just been chilling. That's sometimes what you got to be doing. I've been also looking at, you know, various kind of affiliation offers that I've gotten, or, you know, like, a company will say, oh, like Temu, for instance, you know, they'll send you an offer like, oh, would you like to have 500 in credit to spend on whatever for your channel? It's like, no, kind of. Although, that said, not necessarily for diamond painting, because I don't want to do anything with unlicensed stuff, too many stolen pieces of artwork, but maybe even, like, using, I know that they sell the stones that I would use for the pens, or some of those sorts of supplies might be worth checking out. So I'm not completely against it, but I did receive a few offers like that in emails, and so I want to look at, maybe seeing what's out there. Um, I don't want to like change the integrity of the channel with becoming an affiliation, having these affiliations and then not being able to give an honest review on things. That's just not my style. And honestly, I'm not the type of person, even with an affiliation, like I'm not gonna stand for a product that isn't a good product. I just can't do it. Part of the reason that I don't destash some of my more, as I've discovered to be headachy type kits from specific companies, the reason I don't destash them is because I can't see myself selling something to someone else that I know is going to be crap just to turn around $1 that I spent. I would rather either A, work on it myself, or B, just straight up throw it away than to do somebody dishonest like that. It would make me very, very uncomfortable to do something like that. Other than that, in other news, I go to therapy once a week. It's necessary. I feel like I wish more people would hit up a therapist once a week. Just because I think it's necessary for people to have a neutral party to talk to, somebody that can give them, not necessarily advice, because therapists don't really do that, but they do give you a perspective that is different from perhaps the perspective that you're used to getting. And I'm learning so much about the growth that I've had myself over especially the last year or two. Some of the things that may have held me up before, or would have caused me to even catastrophize things or manipulate a situation. I've been a lot better at seeing those sooner and stopping myself from doing that. I love being able to sit down with my therapist, talk about, some of the challenges that I've had through the week, and then some of the victories, even small victories that I've had in stuff that I'm processing or stuff that I'm thinking about. And to be able to talk it out with somebody who understands what I mean, what I'm talking about, has been really vital. I don't so much struggle with issues around addiction anymore because I'm 5 years sober now. There's a whole lot of sobriety under my belt and learning too. But I feel like I am at a place in my life where I'm so much more mature now than I have been. I'm wiser, which is not the same thing. And that I have perspective that I didn't have before. Especially in processing different things. I talked a lot about, especially this last week, talked a lot about my kind of journey through rehab and going through different types of therapies there, and what that looked like for me. And it turns out that like I pulled out, and I wish I hadn't, to be honest with you. I pulled out an old journal just to kind of like get some perspective, right? To see where I was versus where I am. And the absolute slaughtering that I did to myself in my own journals was really just upsetting to read. And I think I've learned, like I've talked about before, giving myself a little more grace, a little more understanding, cutting myself a little more slack, because I definitely was not ready to do that while I was there. And then on top of that, like just understanding more about autism and how that affects me, whether I need to worry about having a piece of paper to walk around with, whether that becomes a hindrance or if that's something that's actually going to help me. And when you're, especially like my age, you're out looking for employment, or you're out, trying to make something of yourself in the world. Unfortunately, your disabilities in some cases are very visible, and in others are not at all visible, and really are only when you like tell someone about them. So you know how like you fill out your paperwork or whatever when you're applying for a job, and they ask you like, do you suffer from a disability, or have you suffered from one of these disabilities in ever, whatever. Well, one, substance use disorder is actually one of those things that is counted as a disability. So then you make a decision, okay, do I say yes because that exists? And then when you start talking about like autism as a diagnosis, is that something that is a disability to you, or is it just something that you are disabled by certain things? Okay, well, if you disclose that you have a disability, even though of course they're not supposed to discriminate against you, in some cases they do. Well, the problem that a person like me runs into is, regardless of anything that I might write down for a disability, when I walk into a place, I still look my age. I'm still a lady with lady parts. And so there's already certain discriminations being made before I even open my mouth. Nothing to say, like, you're not even getting to the part where they're asking you questions yet. And so I talked about that with the therapist, and whether or not it would be useful to me to have something in writing that states that I have a disability, or if that becomes a hindrance. And ultimately, like, I am able to function, so I don't think it's necessary, I suppose, for me to have a, walk around with a piece of paper. I don't need special accommodations for things, because as a woman, we talked about the way that a woman masks when they deal with ADHD, autism, whatever, that especially somebody who's older, my age, in my 40s, that I've learned so many like coping mechanisms already for anything that might be considered a disability or a hindrance, or something that I might need assistance with. I've already masked it over for so long that it wouldn't even really be necessary. Just interesting stuff. And it's not like you don't walk in and then get a diagnosis. Like, it's something that obviously I've been working with the same therapist for a long time now. There are specific tests they put you through. There's like a whole gamut, right? Like, you don't just walk in, get a diagnosis, walk out, or even go in, take 4 tests and leave. It's a whole thing. So making determinations around whether or not that's completely necessary to do all of the things, right? And so at my age, you determine, okay, well, I don't need yet another hindrance walking into some sort of an interview or whatever. And I think that's part of also why I decided to start with turning pens in the first place, is because I'd been running into so many doors closing in my face that at a certain point it's like I have to break my own way. It's scary. It's a scary thing to do when you are in your 40s and you're like, I'm just going to figure out a way to break my own way. Am I going to be successful? Is it going to be something that is like a side hustle, or is this something that goes somewhere? I'm not, I would not consider myself normally to have been an entrepreneur in my life, but I guess that's where I'm at now. That's kind of where I have to be. So I guess all of that to say that, you know, we all kind of walk around, some of us with our visual handicaps, and some of us with our completely invisible handicaps. And it's really up to you to determine, one, whether those handicaps are handicapping you, right? Or disabling you in some sort of way. Or if you can find a way to make it work a different way, breaking a different way. And I determined I was going to have to break a different way. It's kind of like, I don't want to say it's my last option. It's not, but it's a better option than what I was running into. And I don't need to consistently beat myself up over the fact that, you know, here I am in my 40s, not working technically. Although I can tell you, like, I put in a full 8 hours when it comes to like the pen turning, or I put in my time with regard to the channel and whatnot. But I mean, society thinks that I'm unemployed, right? And so to be my age, to try breaking a new way, like, don't sell yourself short and think that you can't do something else because of your age, because of your circumstances, whatever. And I'm trying to do something new and scary because I need the challenge. I do. I love the challenge. I need the challenge. Is it scary as shit? Yes, it is scary as shit. But I need it in my life. I want to be able to feel like I did not just accept whatever, take whatever, and make it work because I'm trying to make someone else happy, you know? Like I talked about a little bit last week, you know, like how the in-laws will ask me stuff about, oh, well, you know, how's the job hunt going, or whatever. And it's like, I don't live for them, so I'm gonna do what I have to do. And if it means breaking my own way, then that's what I'm gonna have to do. I also, I've always been scared to disappoint people. I worry, like, Am I disappointing my family? Am I going to disappoint myself? I know, I already know, like, without anybody telling me, that, like, telling a person, who asks, like, what do you do for a living? If I tell somebody, oh, I turn pens or whatever, like, oh, okay, is that a job? Or telling people, oh, I'm a content creator, is that a job? Well, it can be one if you make it that, depending on what you're doing with it. At least I'm at a point now where the YouTube brings in a little something. It's not a ton, but it's something. It at least makes me feel like I'm not a complete abject failure. So there's that. But I enjoy it. I've enjoyed myself. So I don't know why I poured out all those diamonds when I needed 5. It was dumb. But yeah, so I'm trying to cut myself some slack and to not let the judgment of other people get in the way of me being successful for myself and not for anybody else. And that's been very, very hard. Because like I said, I hate disappointing people. I hate it. So anyways, yeah, sometimes it can feel like the decisions that I'm making could be considered immature or a pipe dream or whatever, but I also have to sometimes just tell that voice inside to, like, shut up for a little while. Step aside, just let me do my thing. Because if I let it, that voice will consume me and convince me that I can't. I've always hated that word, can't. I hate it so much. I don't accept it. I don't like it. I feel like can't usually means won't. And there's not a lot of things that I won't at least try. And then I go back to when I was working at the Renaissance Fair, we had he would be considered like a mentor in the community. And he would always tell us, like, if you're going to fail spectacularly, fail beautifully, because if you're not failing, you're not learning. So I'm gonna keep trying. I might fail, but I'm gonna fail as big as I can, so that one, I don't have to be as afraid, and two, so that I learn something. That was another thing that I talked about with my therapist, is like, I have this tendency to catastrophize things. Like, it's never just an incident happens and I go, okay, what next? It's like I think of all of the ways that something can go completely and terribly wrong, and convince myself that is the result that I can expect. And then I talk myself out of doing something or trying something because I convince myself that it will be a complete and utter failure. And so I'm trying my hardest not to do that, to at least allow myself room to screw it up a little bit, and then find out later if it's just simply not gonna happen, So, kids, adults, all of you, try and fail spectacularly. Try and fail beautifully. because you're not going to learn anything otherwise. And if you're just like so focused on the worst case scenario, one, that's probably what you're going to get, is the worst case scenario. Yeah, sometimes it's better because then you're like, if you worst case scenario it up and the worst happens, then you can go, oh, see, I knew it was going to happen. Or if it isn't, then you can be pleasantly surprised. I understand that too, because that's me to a T. But you really do also rob yourself of some contentment and the ability to just breathe and tell yourself it's going to be all right. And I'm trying to find that contentment. Like, I've been working very, very, very hard at trying to find that particular contentment in my life. It's not easy. I probably fail as often as I succeed in looking for it, but at least I'm not having a freaking breakdown about life in general the way I was, and I'm not so focused on the worst case scenario that I don't even give myself an opportunity to try. I've allowed that a lot of times in my life. And I want to be able to give myself space, because I think some of it is like age, right? Where you get up to a certain age and you're like, if I fail now, it's going to be so bad. Like, what's my backup plan? I'm not going to have a retirement fund. I'm going to die penniless in the streets because, of course, like I said, I catastrophize things. I could talk myself out of a lot of things because you feel like at a certain point in your life that failure could really be catastrophic. I'd like to think that I typically succeed at whatever I set my mind to, and then on top of that, I do have at least somewhat of a safety net in my family, in Dustin. I think that it would be okay. Yeah, I'd probably be not maybe as comfortable for a while, but I've got to stop, like I said, playing this game of worst case scenario. I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm too that. Like, I just gotta put my mind to it and do it. And stop scaring myself out of what could be something really amazing. I've done that for a long time. So don't do that, okay? Okay, so I have the Oracle cards. I hope I'm not hitting my head on the camera. I keep feeling it like brush my hair. So I'm like, oh God, am I banging the camera against my face? I'm just bouncing you guys around everywhere. Okay, so I've got the cards, right? Let me close this up. I don't want to stick them to the canvas. That would be bad. Yes, I've got my Healing with the Fairies Oracle cards. So for the last half, like I usually do, I'm going to draw the top card. I've already shuffled them. We're going to see what this is, and this is going to give us a thought for the week. You know what I need to do? I need to write down what I had for the last week, and then follow up on how I applied it to my life for the week. So I'm going to do that going forward. I'm going to try and remember to do that going forward. We'll see how that goes. But I'm going to draw the card. I'm going to have this as our thought, yours and mine, our thought for the week. And then I'm going to tell you next week how I applied last week's card, or this week, this card. I'm going to tell you next week how I applied it this week. Okay? Coming up. That was a lot. All to say, I'm going to tell you how I applied this next week. All right. Card is Feeling safe. Oh, okay. Feeling safe. I see these like, okay, there's these dudes right here on the sides. Like this one looks like he's hiding. And then this one, it looks like Robin Hood almost. Interesting. And then she's like, she's a fairy that's got a sword. And they're like, I don't know, maybe storming a castle or something. Alrighty. Feeling safe. Let's see what our book says. Alright, so it says card meaning. Any feelings of danger or vulnerability are healing, and they're replaced with the certain knowledge that you're safe and protected right now. Have you felt frightened or insecure lately? Why? Okay, moving on. Have you felt frightened or insecure lately? If so, this card is a signal that heaven is aware of your feelings and has come to your aid. You are surrounded by heavenly beings who love and protect you on an ongoing basis. The fairies remind you that your thoughts of danger are triggering your feelings of vulnerability. In your mind, you have given power to some outside entity. You believe that this idol that you have created has the power to hurt you. Yet the only power it has is that which you have attributed to it. The fairies urge you to awaken from this mistaken concept. See that you have the power to create a happy and secure dream and make the decision to feel safe. Affirmation. I am safe. I am secure. I am completely protected at all times. Well, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't realize that I was going to be essentially talking about this the entire time. Okay, so, yeah, I guess I've got to figure out really what it is that's triggering these thoughts of danger or feelings of vulnerability. And maybe that's it, really. I hate feeling vulnerable. Like even sometimes when I do these whipping chats, right? Like I have talked about things in these that make me scared and feel vulnerable and uncomfortable, because it's like, what are people gonna think? What are people gonna say? It is never easy to admit when you've made mistakes. It's never easy to admit when you have screwed up, failed, essentially fucked up, right? Nobody likes to admit that. So when I talk about these vulnerable things, I constantly sit and worry about how they will be received. What will people think? What will people say? There was a commenter, and I mean, okay, I laughed about it, right? I giggled because whatever. Someone had left a comment on my things I wish I knew before I started diamond painting. And it was a very long comment. I took no offense to it. I laughed, actually, because it was a very long comment, basically to say, like, this was way overthought. You put way too much in it. Like, people should just start diamond painting and just do it. Like, why are you talking about community? Why are you talking about deciding what kind of painting you want to be, or painter you want to be, or painting you want to do? All of that, right? And I laughed because it's like, you said all of that to say basically that I overthink things, and I 100% know that I overthink things. Like, that is not a mystery to me. I have been aware of that pretty much my whole life. Some of that is definitely autism. Some of that is just being a woman, and a lot of it is being vulnerable, right? Even though I'm just talking about things I wish I knew, because it really, like, oh, they said something about the title was incorrect because how could you have wanted to know all of these things? And it's like, well, I really actually kind of did. When I get into something, I invest so fully and completely. I want to feel control. I want to feel like I have control of the situation so that I don't fail. So that I don't have that danger feeling. I don't feel vulnerable. I don't feel like I'm not in the know. You know, people ask me sometimes, like, oh my God, how do you know so much about this? Because I freak out about everything. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to look like I'm vulnerable, right? So this whole idea of feeling safe, seems foreign to me. The concept seems foreign. How can I apply that to my week? Well, one, like I was just talking about before, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and if I fail, I fail, and I need to not catastrophize it, right? I do also feel safe in the community that I feel like I've kind of built around the channel. And you know, I talk a lot about the Discord. I don't talk about the things that we talk about in the Discord, because that would be I feel like that would be what's the word I'm looking for? I think it would be an overstepping of the trust that people have put in me in those chats that we have, or, you know, whatever. We have voice discussions, like calls or whatever, on the Discord, and we talk about a lot of stuff, very personal things. And so it would be a gross overstep for me to talk about those specific things. But I talk about the Discord having a serious impact on me, because I have a group that I feel very safe with, that I know I can be vulnerable and not feel judged by that particular group of women. That's hard. That's really, really hard to open up to a group of people that I haven't officially met in person, right? And maybe some of that feeling emboldened comes from only having met online. But some of it too is just that we have really built a very strong relationship in which I feel safer, right? But this is talking about danger and vulnerability. And I feel like whenever I put out a WIP and chat, whenever I put out content, I overthink everything. I have this unboxing that I'm gonna put on the channel, and I'm gonna have it for members only, because I was really upset by what I saw when I did the unboxing, like the canvas. I was just very upset by everything. I use language that I would not normally use in an unboxing because I was very upset. And part of it also is like, I almost cried, and not in a good way, when I unboxed what I unboxed. And so, like, I don't want to put that out for the whole world to see, right? Or hear, or whatever. I'm not saying that I'm going to make it not members only to you know, kind of show vulnerability, but I feel like I'm vulnerable a lot, especially on the YouTube. Very vulnerable. So, I think I'm going to try and let me read through this one more time. Let me just skim it. I'm going to skim it again. Frightened and insecure. Okay. It's like essentially talking about putting something on a pedestal, and that I created the power that it has over me, this like outside thing, right? The only power it has is that which you have attributed to it. And that's so true. I think that I end up giving things so much power over me that it becomes scarier than it needs to be. And I've got to learn how to not allow things that power, you know? And when I get hurt, or when I get upset, or when I get scared, I'm a super control freak. I've got to just allow myself to feel my feelings, right? But I've also got to not make that thing, whatever that thing is, so powerful. So I'm going to try and take some of that power back. I'm going to try and find a way to like I said, take some of the power back. I'm going to try and find a way to make it okay. However, I've got to do that. There's a dog hair in my tray and it's driving me nuts. Hold on a second. I got to get this. There we go. I got it. Don't fear. You know, like Beans, he likes to sit in front of a fan. Off topic. And he likes to scratch his ears or whatever. And then, like, because the fan is pointing this direction, it will just blow his hair. And, like, I'll find a dog hair and I'm like, pick it off the painting. Pick it out of the drills. Drives me nuts, I tell you. Anyways, and I wonder sometimes, like I said, because I feel like I put all of this crap on myself, in what ways I can try to take that power back and not allow myself to freak out over the stupid things, you know? I hope that I'm able and to try and stay vulnerable, because as much as that is the scariest freaking feeling in the world, one, I think that people relate to someone who's human. They relate to someone who shows that they make mistakes, and I think that's part of kind of like the success of the channel. But at the same time, like, I so badly just want to be right and want to be perfect. And I think everybody knows how that feels. Like, that everybody knows what wanting that is like. We so badly want to feel accepted and to feel safe that sometimes even we'll do or say things that maybe we normally wouldn't or shouldn't, just to be accepted and to feel safe. And I can't lie and say that I'm proud of every word that's come out of my mouth, or that I'm proud of every action that I've taken. But I can say that I'm really trying very, very, very hard to be better every day, and trying very, very hard to accept others for who they are and what they are, and accept myself for who I am and what I am, even though I have to also accept that others may not, that others are just gonna be what they're gonna be because that's what they are. Or maybe it's because they're scared and vulnerable too. And that's their journey. Far be it from me to take someone else's inventory, or to try and make excuses for them, because I have to deal with my own stuff, you know? I have to take responsibility for my own actions, and also accept that not everybody in the world has the right intentions for me or for you. I feel like I've often like been used by people because I get to that safe feeling place, and then I'm so careful about guarding my heart, and then I feel like there have been times where I've let my guard down and I've gotten to that safe feeling place, and that's where it always ends up getting me in trouble, because I will open up, and then inevitably somebody who does not have my best interests at heart will hurt me with it. And I think that's why that power that it's talking about, that power that I'm allowing something else to have over me, why it does, is because you put yourself out there, and you get to that safe feeling place with a person, and somehow they turn it around and use it as a weapon against you, and then like that vulnerability that you showed ends up really like just biting you in the ass. I hate that. I hate it. And it stops me from being able to really share fully of myself, even with those that either care about me the most or that I care about the most. And I will probably never stop saying that I'm not perfect, because I'm not. But it's the worst when I actually share what makes me not perfect with someone, and then they turn around and throw it back in my face. I don't know how you can ever feel safe when there are people in the world who do that. But I hope that my goal in life, anyways, is to create a space, not just my home, not just my channel, not just my Discord, whatever, but everything, that I create spaces for people where they do feel safe, and where they do feel like they can be vulnerable, and they know that at least with me, that my intention is never to hurt someone purposely. That if I say or do something stupid, that they'll bring it up to me and say, hey, this is something you said or something you did that really hurt me. Allow me an opportunity to fail, but then to grow from that. I think that's where I feel safest, is where someone is willing to take the time to explain to me what I've done that hurt them, or what I've done that upset them, or whatever, that they would have trust in me enough that I would try to make amends for that, and that I would at least attempt to make it right in whatever way I'm able to, rather than holding a grudge, or, you know, just writing me off completely, or whatever, that they would at least give me the opportunity to try and fix it. Anyways, so as for how I will apply this to my week, I'm going to continue to try and be vulnerable, to learn from my mistakes, but also not to let things seem so huge that they have this like towering presence over me, where I can't see around it, I can't see through it, that I just feel stifled by it. So I will definitely I'll definitely be keeping that in my thoughts for the week. Let me know in the comments, what are you going to do this week to try and minimize that thing that you've been making really big and feeling safer this week. I hope any of that helped you. It helped me to talk it out anyways. But as ever, you guys, thank you for hanging out with me. I hope I see you again next week. As ever, again, I hope that wherever you are in this great, big, beautiful world, that you are having a grand morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.